Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game from the 1914 tournament of St Petersburg. We already finished the 1914 tournament through Capablanca's perspective, but we mentioned that we are going to cover two bonus videos. One you already seen, it was Lasker's excellent victory in the final round against Frank James Marshall. And here we have Aron Nimzowitsch versus Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch, the game that was supposed to be the winner of the Brilliancy prize, but then Capablanca's game over Bernstein won the Brilliancy prize for this tournament. But this game won the second Brilliancy prize, so I do hope you enjoy it. And a lot of people say that it reminds them of the famous 1889 victory by World Champion Lasker against Johann Bauer, the famous double bishop sacrifice. And I will put a link to that game in the description below if you want to check it out. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So the second bonus video, Nimzowitsch has the white pieces and he opens with d4. Lasker's game against Bauer was the bird's opening, but you'll see where the similarity comes from. d5, knight to f3, we have c5 now, the Krauss variation, we have c4 and now e6, transposing into the queen's gambit declined, where black has this early c5. e3, knight to f6, just developing, bishop d3, white also just normal developing moves, knight c6, bishop to d6 by black, and now Nimzowitsch castles. We have bishop to d6 now, b3, and here also castles by Tarrasch. Bishop to b2, fianchettoing the dark square bishop. Now, as you can see, Nimzowicz's pieces are eyeing the black king. Knight to g5 might be an idea. Queen might come to f3, maybe to h3. A lot of attacking possibilities here for white, but Tarrasch wants to do the same. So he goes b6, he prepares bishop to b7. He also wants to have a very strong bishop pair, of course. Knight b to d2, and here bishop to b7. And it's not very often that you will see quite symmetrical game like this, where both players will have a really strong bishop pair. This is very nice. Rook to c1 by Nimzowitsch, and now queen to e7, just developing the queen, connecting rooks, and white still has to decide what to do now. So here Nimzowicz's plan is next. He wants to get his knight to f5. The e6 pawn is controlling the f5 square, so first he captures. C captures on d5. And now, after e captures, the f5 square is free for his knight. So, knight to h4. It seems like a weird idea, but it's efficient. Knight to f5 would be an excellent square. Also, it would come with an attack on the queen and the bishop. So here, Tarrasch has two options. He could either go bishop to c8, which is not something you want to do, play the bishop back. Also, you just connected your rooks, you want to get the other rook into the game as well. The other option is g6. This is the best option, so he plays it. And now, immediately after g6 is played, Nimzowitsch just goes back with the knight. He says, okay, my knight is no longer needed here, now I'm just going to retreat it, and I've created a weakness. So, a lot can be learned by from this little maneuver. Okay, Tarrasch continues developing, rook a to d8, lining up the rook with the white queen, which might, come in handy in the future. D captures on c5 now. Nimzowitsch also wants to open up his very strong dark square bishop. B captures on c5, and now bishop to b5. Now, Nimzowicz's light square bishop seems to be not all that great, as white created this fianchetto structure, so he wants to exchange it for black's knight. And also black's knight is included in the fight for the central control a lot more than the light square bishop. But here comes knight to e4. And okay, bishop captures, and now you could play knight captures on e4, but after pawn captures, there are ideas of bishop captures here. The rook is still aligned with the queen, so you'd have to go back knight d2, and then bishop c7 again opens up a nice attack here. It would be just much more enjoyable to play this with the black pieces. But okay, after bishop captures on c6, we have queen to c2 now, just getting the queen out of the c-file. And also, after the knight is exchanged, which it is, knight captures was played, knight captures. Now white has this option of going queen to c3 and already threatens some checkmating ideas. But Tarrasch doesn't wait. Here, Tarrasch plays d4. And this is the critical moment of the game, where you really have to realize, your spidey sense has to start tingling. The black bishop pair is extremely powerful here. So what do you do here? There are two good options here. One is to push e4, to simply block the light square bishop. The other one is even better, just play g3. And it seems like an odd move to do because black has this d captures on e3. Now if you capture, the queen captures with check. But the point is, white has this queen c3 move, and now white is threatening checkmate. You have to prevent this, let's say f6, and now you capture with the queen. Let's say queen captures, f captures, and now you play this endgame where you have a bishop and knight against a bishop pair, and also both you, well, okay, your opponent has 3-pawn islands, you have 4-pawn islands. No, you also have 3-pawn islands. So, I mean, it's, black is a little bit better because of the strong bishop pair, but it is playable. Unfortunately for Aron Nimzowitsch, he didn't play e4 or g3, he played pawn captures on d4. And now, of course, you all know what's coming, especially if you know about Lasker's famous game against Bauer. Bishop captures on h2. It's interesting, bishop captures on g2 also wins, simply because after bishop captures, you cannot save the rook. You just have to allow black to capture it, or you have to allow black to continue with his attack. If you capture the bishop, then comes queen g5, king to h1, and now queen f4. The bishop and queen already threaten a very nice checkmate here on h2. The only way to prevent it is knight to f3. This kind of prolongs it. Queen captures with check, king g1, and now just c captures on d4. And whatever you do, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can win here with the black pieces. Just again threaten checkmate, or you can bring the rook into the game. Doesn't really matter. But let's say even if white tries something like queen to c6, they immediately either trade queens or bring the queen back into the defense. It doesn't help. Bishop captures on h2, a very nice move. King captures, and now rook d5 blocks the trade of queen attempt, and whatever white plays, well, rook to h5 followed by rook to h1 will be checkmate. Or white will have to give up the queen, and then it's just a queen and rook versus 2 rooks and a bishop. Black has too much material here. So that's one way to go about it, bishop captures on g2. But Tarrasch's idea is much more similar to the one Lasker had against Bauer. Bishop captures on h2, which is much more of a human approach, as your force matters. It's already check, white doesn't have all that many options to ignore you. If you go king h1, then just queen h4 is winning, so you do have to capture it. We have captures, queen to h4 check, king to g1, and now bishop captures on g2. And again, if you capture, it's the same plan. Queen g4 check, king h1, and now rook d5. The rook is coming to h5, will be checkmate. Or white must suffer severe material loss with queen captures on c5, but also black is just winning here. So, after bishop captures on g2, we have f3, trying to either meet queen to h1 with king to f2, but also just making some room for the king. Rook f to e8, blocking off, cutting off the king from the e file, a very important move. And now, if you try something like rook f2, if you want to save the rook, queen h1 is checkmate right away. So here, Nimzowitsch tried knight to e4, which makes sense. You want to block the rook's control of the e file, and now, if the queen moves, perhaps you could escape and, you know, seek refuge with your king on the queen side. Queen to h1 check. White is on the run. King to f2, and now comes bishop captures on f1. An excellent in-between move, because now you cannot capture here. If you capture, queen h2 just wins the white queen. The white queen is no longer defended. King e3, you just capture and win the game. So after bishop captures on f1, we have d5, just, you know, opening up the dark square bishop. Nimzowitsch also has plans of maybe queen c3 and attacking the black king. So f5 now. Here, if you move the knight, let's say, even if you go knight f6 check, which seems like a great opportunity, king f7, knight captures, just rook captures, and there's no defense. Queen to g2 will be checkmate. The rook once again controls the entire e file, and once again you cannot capture because the queen h2 will be checkmate now. You don't even have to win the queen, as the rook still controls all of the important files. Squares on along the e file, and queen of course controls these, so it would be checkmate. So after f5, we have queen to c3. Now Nimzowitsch uses this opportunity to threaten checkmate, but it is far too late. Here, pause the video and try to find it. It's a forcing sequence. Black has a forced checkmate in 5. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Interestingly, Tarrasch played a different sequence of moves, but you can find either one, you know, just it's just very nice. For those of you that were able to do it, congratulations, you have just defeated Aron Nimzowitsch, and your game won second Brilliancy prize. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, Queen G2 check. I know it's not very fancy when you start the sequence with a check, but you know, it is as it is. King to e3, and now the move you had to find, rook captures on e4 with check. The king has nowhere to go. You do have to capture the rook, but you have to capture it with the pawn. And now the shortest sequence is queen to g3 check. If you found this, congratulations, this is the shortest line. This is not what Tarrasch played. After king d2, now you just go queen f2 check, king d1, and now of course queen e2 will be checkmate. For some reason Tarrasch played a much more aesthetically pleasing checkmate. f4, bringing the king deeper into the position. King captures, and now rook to f8 check. King e5, now comes queen to h2 check. The pawn is covering the d4 square, so the king has to go further up the board. King to e6, and now rook to e8 check. We have king to d7, and here, of course, it's mate in 1, bishop to b5 checkmate. Now, it's a much nicer mate. Perhaps Tarrasch decided to do it for the crowd, you know, to get Nimzovich's king all the way on d7, as this is, you know, much more embarrassing having your king on d7. So who knows? Maybe he was already, you know, writing the book about this famous tournament, so he wanted to include such a masterpiece in his book, which still hasn't arrived, but I'm sure it will very soon. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. The second bonus video from the 1914 tournament of St Petersburg, the game that won the second Brilliancy prize. If you haven't seen it, the game that won the first Brilliancy prize, if you're new to the series or to the channel, is Capablanca versus Bernstein. It will be the first link in the description below. Do check it out. Quite an insane game. You know, if this game won the second Brilliancy prize, you can only imagine which game won the first Brilliancy prize. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it and that you are enjoying the Capablanca saga so far. Some of you mentioned in the comments that, oh no, is the Capablanca saga over? Well, no, it's not. This is just the end of the 1914 tournament of St. Petersburg. Now, I'm still going to decide where to go from here. I don't think we'll go immediately to the match with Lasker. I'm sure we're going to cover a bit more games, maybe even another tournament. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. The World Team Championship is going on right now, so we might be covering a bit of that as well. You know, we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, I would like to thank Jan Jobling, Juan Alejandro de Armero Aguero, Christoph Schweitzer, Paul Staples, and Jochen Achlef for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, hopefully with some more interesting content. Had to give you a bit of time yesterday, you know, without any videos to catch up on the whole Capablanca saga. But yeah, thank you all, and I will see you soon.